Greetings. This is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. I am Mark, your host. I said that, I guess. And we're coming on a little bit early to get some things straightened out with the broadcast. This is going to be our fourth broadcast, Jill? Yeah, I think it's our fourth. And the purpose of this is to take an hour out of the week to answer questions, any questions having to do mostly with farm related issues, homesteading issues, processing, butchering, anything like that people might want to talk about. And I get a lot of phone calls during the week, and there's so many now that I just can't take them anymore. So if we can get them all in at one time, then that would be great. And I think it's a worthwhile project because what we have done, I really had no idea that this was going to happen, but this is a playlist that we're working on of videos that I've made just over the years. I guess it's been 5 years since I started making videos, and when I first started making videos, I would just be doing something and I just take my phone out of my pocket and I would make a video. And that worked out pretty good. It was mostly for my benefit, for documenting things and just, I don't know. I've always liked show and tell, so I just did it. But now we've built up a lot of material that's good material, good how-to material. And what we're in the process of doing is figuring out where it is, what it is, and when there's a question on this broadcast, I can say, go to playlist X and search for this video. Right now, I'm not going to be able to be very specific because we're still working on that. We want to get everything categorized. But it's getting better. We are doing another hour show on Saturday morning on the other platform. So that's at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. So if that's a better time for you, if you want to come in.
Is that not this Saturday?
Well, we might not be doing it this Saturday, but then again, we might. We're going to a conference this Saturday on, is that biodiversity? Soils and biodiversity.
Vegetables, vegetable production.
Vegetable production. And it's with a guy that we've sat under his tutelage before, and there was so much information that we didn't get it all, and we want to go back for more with, just a fresh set of eyes. We haven't seen him in about 4 years, so that's what we're going to be doing this week on Saturday morning. But maybe I could cut out for a little bit and do it. But sure, we're going to have to think about that. Okay, could I get a volunteer in here to bring me a puppy real quick? Okay, I want to show you. And we've had a lot of questions about predation lately. Those of you that are going to embark on this route of being homesteaders, chickens are really common, and predation becomes really common too. Chickens and ducks get eaten by raccoons and skunks and things like that. And this puppy right here, oh, look at that, isn't that cute? It's just off the charts cute factor. And that's why I'm doing it. This is a Great Pyrenees puppy, and this one is about 8 or 9 days old, right? 8 or 9 days old. And they're ready to go when they're about 8 weeks old. Now, the beauty of these particular puppies is they get full training with their mom and dad that live right here at the farm. And we have, lots of poultry, and we have lots of pigs and cattle and stuff like that. So they get to be around animals, and I'm not saying that they would not have instinctive guardian dog characteristics. Otherwise, they would, but these ones will just be, out of this world. Good, really good guardian dogs. They get pretty big. Okay, thanks, Jim. Okay, they're going to be ready in probably another 7 weeks or so, but we'll let you know. And we're definitely taking deposits on them now. They're not easy to find, so I like to make them available. We had 12 of them this time that made it. There was 13 born, but if you want to make a deposit on them, by all means, go to bakersgreen.com, and there's a, you do a little looking around there, you'll find a place where you can make a deposit. Okay. Well, I guess without further ado, we have.
Yeah, remember to like.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to help us out with a like and a share, if you could do that. That helps change the algorithm so that this information can get to more people. And if you could just take a minute and share it with, I don't know, people that you know that might be interested in homesteading or gardening or farming, things like that. And I think we are ready to go. This is a 1-hour show.
My internet's really slow, just so you know.
Okay.
I'm not keeping up, but.
Yeah, we are having a little bit of internet problems, and so Jill won't have the questions as quickly as we need. Don't you have some questions left over?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm ready to take the first question and I'll elaborate on it.
All right.
You're at my kitchen table, by the way, so just get you a cup of coffee and pull up a stool. I just came in.
Okay. This first question is a milk question. This person is struggling with keeping goats in milk. Wondering if it's just the crazy weather or something. They're really struggling to have enough to even feed the bottle babies, let alone have some for the family. Do you have any tricks?
Could you expound on how long they've been fresh? Like, how long has it been since? No, you can't?
No,
Okay.
This is a question from someone over the internet earlier this week.
Well, the weather's been a little bit crazy, and that does send them off. But you should have enough. I mean, for the bottle babies, plus a little bit for your house. I guess what I would do in a situation like that, like we have milked goats before, but I don't ever recall having that particular problem. But I am in a situation with my cow right now where all of a sudden her production has dropped down to about 3/4 of a gallon a day. And I think what people have a tendency to do then, especially this time of the year, is say, oh, the heck with it, dry her off, and start another cow. But what I would do if I was you, green grass is a mere month away. So stay at it. Get her some good feed. I would say like some scratch grains, and that would be, some cracked corn, some cracked wheat, and some barley. It's scratch is what they call it. Usually, it's a mixture of everything, and then some good hay, and make sure she's got plenty to eat and plenty of water. I'm sure you've thought of that, and just keep going. And maybe when that green grass comes in, get her plenty of that. That's all I can think of. If it's two of them doing it, it sounds a little environmental, not just single animal issues. Do you have any other input on that, what you would do for milk production, Lo?
Yeah, make sure that they've got lots of bedding so they're staying warm and they're not getting blown on by the wind and chilled off. Because if their energy is going into being warm, they're not going to make milk. Also, anything you can do to, like you said, add a little more grain, give them more energy. It takes energy to make milk, and so the more you can help them out that way, the better your chances.
Yeah.
So,
And if nothing else, if you highly mineralize them now, the next time, your next go around, maybe you won't have this problem. You cannot go wrong with giving lactating animals kelp. You can't go wrong. What that does is it mineralizes them, it mineralizes the milk. So if you're using these animals to get milk for your family, I'm assuming you're giving it to your kids, you want your kids' bodies to be mineralized too. So get some kelp. It's not too difficult to find. It's usually organic because I don't think they grow it commercially. You know, it's out of the ocean. I would get it out of the Atlantic. I'd be a little weary of anything out of the Pacific right now. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Good
all
luck.
right.
Oh, if you have a question, would you put it in all caps too? And that'll alert us. It looks like Jill's internet's working now, so we can put the pedal to the metal. Let's do this.
Well, Dave said, thanks for the puppy show. Now he's going to hear a bunch of noise about that. Do you have any
No
other
problem.
breeds of dog that would be good for the homestead?
No, there's absolutely no other breed of dog that's good for the homestead. Absolutely none. The only one is the Great Pyrenees. And I have 9 of them that are unspoken for right now. So I hope that helps. No, what do you expect me to say, like a dachshund or something? Yeah, there's several breeds, and I can't really think of them right now.
Anatolian Shepherd is one.
Yeah, Anatolian Shepherd is another one. And Joel Salatin actually has one or had one. And there was a picture of me with his dog a long time ago. And it was just totally asleep in the grass. And I went over and looked at it. It looked like it was dead. And somebody took a picture of it. It was pretty neat. I couldn't find one of those. The Pyrenees are... I don't know much about the Anatolian. I just know about the Pyrenees. And they're a guardian dog. And if you have livestock on your place, they perform an incredible service for you when it comes to predation, which can be really, really bad in the summer. Where I am in northern Michigan, it can be really bad. Almost drive you out of the business because you can't be awake 24 hours a day to keep an eye on your animals. But your dogs can, and they also protect your children. There's a little bit of a downside to them. They have a tendency to wander, so when you buy a $500 dog, you better get a $100 fence that comes with one of those collars you put on, and then put the wire out and plug it in. It's quick, it's easy, and it works. But no, Dave, I don't know of any other dogs. You know, I have no personal experience with any other dogs but the Pyrenees. Sorry. I'm going to try during these broadcasts to talk about the things that I know about. If I don't know, I mean, I'll say, well, this guy, it works for him, but I have no personal knowledge of it. There's tons of information on the internet about this. But what has worked for me is when I talk to somebody that has actually done what I need to know about. Not somebody that's read it on the internet. That's helpful, but I mean, I think that what you need to do is read it and then do it. And then you become the expert on it, or close. Is there another question?
Okay. Yes, this is M. Finn. What's the best way to reduce flies on cows?
Oh. Well, I tell you, we're talking a lot of about a lot of things like this in our Homesteaders Guild. In family life, in gardening, in farming, there's balance is something that you have to consider. So, like predation, for instance, if we put 300 chickens out in the middle of a pasture and we fence them in a little bit, we're creating an imbalance. And then the animals that are in nature are there to bring it back into balance. So when they predate our chickens, they're actually trying to bring things back into balance. It's just how nature works. It'll go to flying straight and level if you take your hands off the wheel. It wants to right itself. So when you have 1,000,000 flies on your cows, like too many flies, something's out of balance in that environment. And I think you got to figure out what it is. And then take the necessary measures that you need to do. Now, flies have to they have to regenerate someplace. So depending on the fly, you need to start looking around for the area where they are laying their eggs from. Some flies, there's nothing we can do because there's so much environment for them that they're going to do it. And if you look at a cow, and they usually have about 50 flies on them, that the tail goes up and hits them, they go over the other side, the tail hits the other side, they go the other side. That's about right. But when you have so many flies that they're in their eyes and it's just they're on them and the cows are running around, then you have a problem. And you have to decide what to do. Now, I don't have that problem because right now our place has kind of come into balance. The whole farmstead has come into balance. But I can tell you, when we first moved here, the flies were so thick in the lower barn where they used to milk many, many, many years ago, 100 years ago, that you couldn't walk through there. You'd get them in your mouth. It was so bad. They would cover up the windows. And I got this stuff that was called See 'em Die. That was the name of it. See 'em Die. And it came in a jug, and it smelt kind of like MEK, if you ever, methyl ethyl ketone is what it smelled like. And to apply it, there's a vaporizer that you're supposed to put it in, and I didn't have one, but I put it in an airless spray gun, right? An airless paint sprayer. And then I would fog the basement, and they would just drop. And I did that a few times, and it solved the problem. And now, that's not the only thing I did, but it did bring things back into balance somewhat. And then we did away with a lot of the moisture that was in the barn. We did away with a lot of the drainage that would come off the eaves and sit in puddles. We did away with that, just drain that off. To keep things a little drier around the property. And then that particular field is a field now that used to just be called a dry cow lot, where we planted it. And I think a lot of those eggs get used up, or their environment gets taken away from them, so they don't, you don't have them quite so bad. Yeah, and then I have a lot of poultry around too. So that seems to help. And we have bats. We have bats on the front of the house, which at one point I'd said, oh, we got to get rid of them. But it seems like all the animals that live here and then the activities that we do, it all kind of balances out. Every now and then something gets out of whack, and we look at it a little bit differently than we did before. Like, let's get some chemicals and do away with this. It's like parasites in animals. If you wipe them all out, you're going to leave a vacuum in there, and something's going to fill it. So the design of life is pretty good, and if you kind of take it easy, I don't know if that's answering your question about flies, but there's another product we were talking about last night. It's called Golden Malrin, and you can put that in a bowl and put it someplace. Flies come and they eat it, and you'll find them dead everywhere. But it's scary stuff, because if your cats eat it, they'll die too. and we had the predation conversation. It's a well-known technique that you mix that stuff with, say, Coca-Cola or Cherry Coke, and you put it in a pan, and everything that goes to it and eats or drinks from it doesn't make it but a few feet away from it. But your dogs would do the same thing, or cats, coons. Okay, so you got to be careful with it. All right, flies.
Yeah. We have a we have a related question from off the internet earlier this week that I'll answer now because it kind of relates to that too. This person is thinking of starting their homesteader library, and they'd like a holistic book of recipes, everything from medicinal to toiletries, makeup, etc. Any recommendations?
Sounds like Jill's got this one figured out.
I was prepared because this one came earlier.
Can I give this over to you then?
Sure.
Oops.
And it relates to the flies, in that when I worked on the organic farm last summer, one of the things that we used to control the flies on the cows, because it was a major issue because they couldn't use all those other products, was essential oils. And I found that it worked pretty good. I used a non-measured blend of peppermint oil, lemongrass, citronella, and eucalyptus. Just put some of that in a 1 gallon sprayer, added water, and the gal got it. I mean, this was for a lot of calves in a whole barn. So big jars, like $50 a bottle or something. But it's essential oils, so the one bottle lasted most of the summer, or all summer. Plus I used it some this winter, eucalyptus and peppermint for the calves. So for your flies, besides all the other things that Mark mentioned, because that was really good about balancing things, but you can put essential oils with oil and rub it on their backs if you can get close to them, or put it in a sprayer with the water, and then just mist all over them, mist the areas if they're in the barn where they really hang out, and that's a natural way to repel them. It's not perfect, and it doesn't kill them, but it helps. So that's something. This book, The Complete Book of Essential Oils and Aromatherapies, is where I started with essential oils. It's a great place to start, and this book has medicinal uses for the oils, as well as the toiletries and makeup and the whole 9 yards. So it kind of covers all your uses. I think it even has some recipes for cooking, like lemon cookies or that kind of thing. This book is another great one I would recommend for starting your medicinal library, because she talks about some real basic things that you can use, like activated charcoal, cider vinegar, just really easy, simple to use, easy to find things. And I'll put links to these in the show notes at the end, so you can really easily find them on Amazon. This last one, Rosemary Gladstar, is well known in the herbal community. So this book has pictures of all the different things. She goes through them herb by herb, flower by flower, tells you how to find them so you can harvest them right out of your yard, tells you how to use them, all those sorts of great information, lots and lots of recipes on all the different topics. So those are the books that I would recommend starting with, and I will put, again, links in the show notes so that you can just find them really easily.
Okay, I think that was a pretty good answer.
All right. Nick had a question for you. Can my boar stay with the sows, or should I take him away before the piglets drop?
Okay, well, I don't. I kind of run mine as if it's a sounder, boar, what Nick's referring to, I'm assuming, is a male pig that's intact, the sire for your sows, and I don't take him out, and he doesn't care one lick about them. As soon as she starts farrowing, he's out of there. He doesn't care about that. So I leave him in, but the thing that you're going to have is you're not going to be able to control your breeding like you could if you separated him out. So if you leave him in there and he's aggressive towards the little ones or he eats them, then next time don't leave him in there or get him out before he eats more than one. We did have a boar that did that one time. He's gone. And the one I have now, he's friendly and he could care less about them. They run all over him and he does not care about them. So that's the way I do it. I have one boar and 4 sows right now, and I'm probably going to downsize to just 2 sows because in the Homestead model, I don't really need a whole bunch of pigs running around. I can do what I need to do for my family and my extended family with just 2 sows. When you think about it, they're going to farrow. I mean, I have Mangalitsa pigs, and we're planning these days on about 8 to make it. Some people do better than that, and we have too, but I just take an average of 8, and that's twice a year. So with 2 of them, that's, well, what would that be? 32 pigs. So that's a lot of pigs. So, and if they come and I'm ready to put them on forages out in the field, then my production costs are way down there. And, I can do it. Because otherwise, you're putting out a whole lot of money up front to raise out 32 pigs. That's a lot of dough to put out. But I don't think that was a question, was it? Is there another question?
JD wondered if we have any horses. He hasn't seen any in the videos.
We have 1 horse.
And I think this is, Paul from Kansas. I'll read you his comment.
All right.
Because he looked into the lean protein that he was telling you
Oh, yeah.
about.
Lean protein.
Yep. Right. He said it's called Lean Gain. It is a lysine, amino acids, and so on. There is some lysine that has the meat and bones protein in it that you were talking about. So that was his comment on that. And then he wondered, when is the best time to plant pumpkins for the pigs?
Oh, as soon as the ground's soft, get them in. Soon. I shouldn't say that because you don't want them to get frosted off. So in Kansas, I think you probably could put them in right now, right? I don't know. I don't know what it's like in Kansas right now. Here, we've got 2 feet of snow on the ground, so I couldn't get them in. But here, what I usually do is, as soon as I know it's not going to frost anymore, and the soil's getting warmed up, so end of May, I can get them in, and I'm pretty sure that if they do sprout up and we did have a frost, they'd be low enough where nothing would happen to them. And then I'm quite assured that I'm going to have some really big pumpkins by fall time. So, but I think it would be different for you. I would go around to people that are growing them and watch what they do. And when they put them in, you put them in. And then you know what you're going to want to do is make friends with those people that are selling pumpkins to people that want to make jack-o'-lanterns, and then as soon as Thanksgiving's over, all those pumpkins got to go someplace. And if you're the guy that shows up with a pickup truck and you're willing to take them, a lot of times you can get them for nothing, and then bring them home. And hopefully you have children and some baseball bats or swords or shotguns. You're going to have a lot of fun. We do that. Next question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up. There, we got some great conversation in the chat.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm gonna go to Paul's question. He wondered, can you feed chickens only cracked corn? Oh, and I just that last question. He said it is cold, very cold there in Oklahoma. And by the way, remember it did snow in the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that's right. But I thought Oz was not in Kansas. Wasn't there a line in there that said you're not in Kansas anymore? That was Oz. Come on. Try to pull one over on me, will you? Think I'm dumb? Another question?
Oh, yeah. Can you feed chickens only cracked corn?
No. You mean chickens like laying chickens? They're like pigs with beaks. You can feed them. You should never, if you have chickens, you should never put anything down the garbage disposal. Matter of fact, you should unplug that so people don't do that. Because chickens will eat everything, even coffee grounds, believe it or not. So, no, they'll eat anything. They'll eat, well, a lot of, they're omnivores for sure. You know, most birds are omnivores. Well, yeah, most birds are omnivores. So they'll eat, worms and insects, things like that. So this conversation, right, this question kind of dovetails with the fly question. And a lot of times we talk about assets and liabilities, and some people are probably rolling their eyes right now, Dave. But if you have a lot of flies, is that a bad thing, or could it be a good thing? So if you attracted all those flies out to where your chickens live, and there was some way that those flies could propagate, but the fly larvae could fall down onto the ground, and your chickens could eat those, protein is protein, right? And they'll turn those into some really nice eggs, and they'll be just appetizing when you think about them when you're eating them. But that shouldn't really make a difference, because if you're going to buy chicken feed from the store and it has there's way worse things in there than fly maggots. So protein is protein. That's all there is to it. If you have a deer carcass, if you shoot a deer in the fall and you have all the bones and everything, there's a little bit of meat, you put that in with your chickens, they will totally clean it off. And then the bones go in your compost pile. Well, I have a friend that has a compost pile in his chicken yard, and he has it so he can get in there and he can turn it once in a while with his front end loader. And I'm going to do that this year because he's motivated me to do that. But no, chickens can eat a lot of things. If you're going to be getting eggs from them, chickens are a deep subject, I'll tell you. Because let's say you have 30 chickens. In the spring, you're going to get an egg from all 30 of them every single day. And so before you know it, come July 30th, you're going to have so many eggs, and then you're going to start thinking, oh, the ones that came out earlier are going to go bad, and then you have no room in your refrigerator. You need to really educate yourself on chickens and eggs, and how to store eggs, and how long eggs are good for, and what to feed them, and what not to feed them. So when they're laying really well in the spring, during the spring flush it's called, that's when they would normally sit on their eggs and they would, produce young. They don't do that in the wintertime because, everything that we're doing kind of mimics nature. You're going to get a lot of eggs. Learn how to water glass those. If you don't know, is there a video that we can point them to?
It would be in Farm Hacks.
It would be in Farm Hacks. So you go to the playlist on Baker's Green Acres YouTube and go in Farm Hacks, and Jill did a video on water glassing and learn how to save your eggs. So we're working off eggs that are from last spring. We're eating them now, and they're fine. Every now and then you get a cracked one. They're not so good, but if you handle it properly, you won't have a problem. And then when they quit laying, like in the wintertime, I'm feeding them junk bread right now because I don't want to be going and buying really good feed for them because it makes those eggs so expensive that you don't get real happy when you're eating them when you think of the money that you're putting out. So I hope that helps. I hope that sparks a few more questions on chickens because they're a great place to start. And I'm actually going to revamp my whole chicken program this summer so I can get more out of them than I have before, and go back to enjoying them a little bit more than I have been. Because now it's just like we didn't really have time to enjoy them, but that's kind of where we started many moons ago.
He was wondering specifically more about broiler chickens
Oh.
than layer chickens. You were just expounding well. And
Yeah.
there was some chatter too about fly eggs. Did
Fly
you talk
eggs.
about your bucket for the
Yeah.
chickens?
All right, for meat chickens, if we talked about this last time, and I said my favorite meat chicken now, after last summer, is the Freedom Ranger. All right, they take a little bit longer, but in the homesteading model, if they go 12, 14 weeks, who cares? Time is, you've got plenty of time. If it's a commercial model, you need those done in 8 weeks, no matter what. And in that case, you're going to have to feed them things that you don't want to feed them. And we try to balance that out by putting them out on pasture. But still, the Freedom Rangers do really well on clover. They eat a lot of bugs. They do well on grass. I mean, they have to have something else, but they do eat. You know, I have a junk bread contract, so I feed a lot of bread. And I just got a mill today, so I'm going to start making some of my own feed, but that's mostly for my layers. Cracked corn, yeah, they'll eat it, but it doesn't have the protein in it that you really want. You want to have about 16% protein. But if you go with the Freedom Ranger, you know, it's plus or minus because that 16% is to hit that target date at, 56 days. You want those chickens done. Well, I'm not commercial farming now, so I'm not worried about that anymore. We can butcher, 15 chickens a week if we feel like it. It's not like we've got to make this schedule like we used to when we were commercial farming. So I would say, yeah, some cracked corn is good. But remember, a lot of your corn, feed corn, is going to be genetically modified. So it's doused down with glyphosate. So I don't like that. So I don't feed it. But okay, next question. Oh, fly eggs. What I do over my layers is I have a pole that's up pretty high, about 15 feet, and there's a pulley on that. And then there's a rope that goes up to the pulley and comes back down, and then I have a bucket that's on there. And I drill 1,000,000 holes in that bucket, about 3/4 of an inch. And then when we process chickens, I'll take some of the entrails and I'll put it in that bucket, right? And then I'll hoist that bucket all the way up to the top. So it gets inundated with flies, but they're away from me. They're away from all of us. They're out there up high, and then the chickens lay their eggs, and in a couple days the wind blows that a little bit and the maggots are just hitting the ground, and the chickens are going wild. And it's protein that comes from nothing. And you got to get over, well, maggots are gross. It's protein. Protein is protein.
Do you take interns?
We haven't. We haven't. But that's something I should ponder. I should ponder. I've been to Joel Salatin's place twice now, and I've talked with him quite a bit. Had dinner with him a couple times. I wouldn't say we're chums or anything, but We've had some good conversations, and he does an intern program that is top notch. And but he's got his son working for him. That's he's grown up, and that's his job. I mean, it would be a good thing, and it could be mutually very helpful. I would just need to think about that a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can give an answer on that right now. Maybe you should get with me. How could people, like maybe an email, bakersgreenacres.com. Another question?
Um, Someone really enjoyed all your cow videos. How are the cows coming?
Fine. Cows are coming fine.
They're staying warm. Can you keep eggs unrefrigerated, and how?
Yeah. There's two methods that I know of. You can keep eggs unrefrigerated in a cool area that's out of the sun, like on the steps going down to the basement, maybe, where no one's going to step on. You want them cool. It doesn't have to be 40 degrees or anything. And you can keep them there for 100 days. Okay, when the eggs come out, they have this kind of waxy substance on them. And you don't want to take those eggs and wash them off. You don't want to do that. If there's any manure on it, just kind of clean it off with a rag or your hand or whatever. And good enough. That's good enough. Don't go too wild with the cleanliness thing. It sounds kind of strange, but just like the parasites that are in our environment, the germs and the amoebas and the bacteria that's in our environment is not all bad. You don't want to be going around with the Clorox and killing everything because you're going to create an imbalance again. So don't do that. Okay, so 100 days, and that's plenty long. When you start having more build up than you can eat, then what you do is you look into water glassing. And the way Jill does it is she takes pickling lime, she mixes up a solution with a cup of pickling lime and a quart of water. She mixes that up. And then she takes a 5-gallon bucket, arranges the eggs in the bottom of that, several layers. You got to be careful. And then she fills it with that solution until it just goes over them. Now, all you're really doing with the pickling lime is you're changing the specific gravity of the water. So the eggs won't float. If you get an egg that floats in there, then use that one right away or get rid of it. If one did float, I'd break it in a glass before I do a pan if I was frying eggs. And you can fill that bucket all the way to the top with eggs. I think it's 450 eggs, something like that, that'll fit in there. And it should be filled right to the top, and all of those eggs are submerged. And you can keep those eggs for up to a year like that. And I've had people tell me that they've had them for 2 years, and they're fine. So we did it, and it works. Those are the eggs that I had for breakfast this morning are being preserved like that. And that's a tremendous thing to know, because you have 30 chickens, you're getting all these eggs in the summertime, and then you wind up saying, oh, well, I'll sell eggs for $1 a dozen. Well, it's cheaper than they sell them at the store. So then you're devaluing what you're doing. You're not making the money that you could to even up on the feed that you're having to buy. And the whole thing it's a losing proposition. In the Homesteaders Guild, we're going to be talking about homestead economics. And you have to take into consideration the whole year, because everything that you're doing on your farm is seasonal, and you have to work with the seasons, and economics are seasonal too.
All right. Long Shot Revival Homestead is reading Salad Bar Beef now, and it's a great book. Could I grass feed a decent herd on 10 to 15 acres?
Of beef?
Yeah, I don't remember where they are, because that makes a big difference.
Is he on here?
Yeah, yeah.
Long shot, where are you? And you've read Salad Bar Beef. That gives a lot of great information. There's a term that you need to come to grips with, and it's grass finished beef, right? You said 10 to 15 acres, right? Is that what you said? 10 to 15 acres?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, this is Joe Brown in
Oh.
Maine.
He wants to grass finish on 10 to 15 acres?
Yeah.
Okay, Joe. So, what you want to do, if you got 15 acres and you want to finish your cattle on there, that means you're going to feed them for, let's say, 90 days before they go to slaughter. So they're going to slaughter, and all they've been eating is fresh, green, sun-washed, cleaned by that ocean air out there in Wicked Good, Maine. That's what they're finished on. Finished on that. Now, that doesn't mean you can keep them on there all year long, because there wouldn't be enough forage out there and they'd beat it up. So what I would do is I would assess what you have out there on 15 acres, how good the forage is, and then divide it up into thirds. So if you got 15 acres, that would be, what would that be? 3 5-acre chunks, and then get some temp fencing and a good solar charger and some temp fence posts, and we could talk about this another time, and put them in on the first third and record how long it takes them to go through that. And the first third, you probably want to divide it up even, give them 10 feet. And then, when that's gone or really knocked down, you don't want to go down too far, because this is a deep subject. Grazing is a great thing, and you can make tremendous gains on your animals. But it's a balancing act. If you have those cows on, a quarter of an acre, and they eat it down to dirt, well, that stuff's never going to recover. That grass will never recover. So you want them down so they've just taken the first bite, and then they're looking around, and then you give them another 10 feet. You see what I'm saying? You move your temp fence, give them another 10 feet, and then another 10 feet, another 10 feet. And then you should be able to assess how far you're going to go, and you should slaughter your animals, beef. They should be slaughtered in the fall, early winter. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But real quick, the reason is you want the intermuscular fat. And if you slaughter them in the fall, their bodies are preparing them for winter. And so the fat from the inside of the animal, a lot of times, is going to migrate into the muscles for immediate use, immediate energy needs in the winter. So you get that migration going on. You don't want to slaughter them in the spring, because their bodies go through a flush, and they flush a lot of that fat with a lot of garbage in it. So you don't want to kill them in the spring. Always in the fall. And, like everything seasonal, we always slaughter in the fall. If you slaughter in the spring, then flies are going to be a big problem, and you can lose a beef in a hurry if you get flies laying a lot of eggs on it. So I hope that helps. And it depends on how good your forage is, how much rain you get in the summer. You're in Maine, you get plenty of rain there. So I would think, how many beef did you say? I would think you could probably do what you asked. 10 or 5? 10 or 15?
10 to 15 acres. He says a decent herd, but no number.
Well, I don't think you can do more than 5 on that. And it would be really depending how big they are. And then, you can always supplement. If you can't make it, then you're going to have to give them dry hay. But they'll still be a lot more, what you're looking for in a grass-fed beef is you're looking for fat on that animal that is coming from grass. You don't want fat that's coming from corn, because then it's going to taste like a Mountain Dew, and you don't want that. You want green grass fat, because then it's got all the nutrients from the sun, all that great grass, all that nice rain you get out there in Maine, and just the wicked good sea coast from Buckspot.
All right. Transition to chickens. Fellow named Meat Hunter wants to know, do you use meds on your birds? Especially he's doing pastured broilers.
If you're doing pastured broilers, I do counsel with a lot of people on pastured poultry. And the one thing that gets people, that seems to be very common throughout these here United States of America, would be coccidiosis. And I think that this goes right back to balance. Okay, so you've got a chicken tractor, right? Chicken tractor's a pen. Pretty standard chicken tractors, 10 wide, 12 long, 120 square feet. You put 75 birds in there. Most people are using this Cornish cross chicken. There's a protozoa that's in the soil, and it's called coccidia. It's coccidia protozoa. And for some reason, when you have all those birds on the field, coccidia wants to fix that for you. And what it does is it gets in the chickens. The protozoa is designed to eat bacteria, and so it starts working all the bacteria out of the chicken, and then before you know it, the chicken can't digest very well, and your feed to weight conversion goes down. They start getting kind of a red manure, and they get gaunt, and then they die. And if you go to the co-op, let's say, or a veterinarian, they'll say, oh, well, you need amprolium. So I've done that. I mean, we did that for several summers. And so what you're doing is, in order to bring balance to this imbalance that you've created, you're going to balance it by this chemical or this medicine, this pharmaceutical that you're going to give these chickens. And by the way, you need a way to inject that into their line, into the water lines. You have to mix it correctly. And then, oh, by the way, you can't process those birds for 2 weeks after you've administered. But in my experience is as soon as you take them off amprolium, or the commercial name is Corid, as soon as you take them off that, they get sick again. So it's this terrible mess that you have. I got a low battery here.
I'll get your cord.
Yeah, I know, but I can't plug it in with this thing. I'm down to 20%. Let's see how we go. It'll give me another notification.
Oh, you've got 10 minutes.
10%. Okay, I think we'll make it. So, so the fix on that, and we've talked with a lot of different farmers about this. Or you're asking me if I use meds or if I use any chemicals on my pastured poultry.
Meds.
Meds.
Do you use any meds on your birds?
No, I don't use any meds. The fix on that is to give the chickens a probiotic. So you need to balance out the situation. So the imbalance is you don't have enough bacteria out there, and the protozoa starts to eat the chickens. So what do you do to bring it back in balance? You give them more bacteria. How do you do that? Compost pile, right? And I'll go you one better than the compost pile. You're going to want to make compost tea, right? Take a feed sack, just like a tea bag, put really nice finished compost in there, If you don't have any yet, get some. Put it in a barrel, or a white bucket, white bucket, and leave it in the sun. And it'll make this tea that's really, really heavy duty with bacteria. You can put that in their water. They won't care. They'll still drink it. You can just put that in and they'll drink it. Or one better than that would be look into biochar, and then you can crush the biochar up and inoculate it with this compost tea, which is really heavy duty with bacteria, and it'll really boost their system with bacteria, so the protozoa won't start eating them. It'll eat the bacteria, and then they'll manure that out on your field, and they'll feed your field. And then maybe the protozoa, instead of going to the chicken, will just say, no, I'll stay right here in the field. So I think coccidiosis has a lot to do with an imbalance, and then to bring it back in balance, I don't think the answer is medicated feed. In the state of Michigan right now, if I want to buy medicated chicken feed, I have to have a note from a vet. So that's really hurting a lot of people, because coccidiosis, I've read journals from the turn of the century, and coccidiosis is nothing new, and many have tried to overcome it without chemicals. It works. Compost works, and biochar that's inoculated works. Okay.
Okay.
In my experience.
Yeah. This was Alyssa and Steve. Do you order a mixed blend of chicks in the spring? They're in Pennsylvania again. So then Steve's question is, where do you order meat birds, and do you order them sexed? If so, which one?
Now, we have a local hatchery that's 2 hours away from us. So I do business with them because I want them to stay in business, because I want a consistent product. And when the birds are shipped from that hatchery to me, it's about the same number of hours every time, so I know what I'm getting. If I go with a national outfit, they source from whoever's got what you're looking for, and it could be coming from a totally different part of the country, and you could be bringing something on your farm that you don't want. So I would get a hatchery and work with them and stay with them. That's what I would do if I were you. That's what's worked best for us. Meat birds, we don't sex them, because they're going to come out 50-50, aren't they? Thereabouts.
Yeah.
And it really works out good, because the males in a group of 75, half of them will be males. They're going to get to weight first, and then the females will be a week behind them a lot of times. So it works out pretty good. So I know I never get anything sexed unless we're buying pullets, and those would be females that are egg layers. And of course, you don't want to buy rooster egg layers, because they're going to be, not suitable for meat. I don't go with any of this dual purpose chicken breeds. I've never found that to work out very good, because they're either not good egg layers or they're not good meat birds. So for us, it's worked out really well to separate them, and the Freedom Ranger is what we'll probably go with from here on out for our family especially.
Okay, Scott wondered, when can I add manure compost to the soil for our garden this year, and should I till it in?
Yeah. Where was Scott again? You remember?
I should, but I don't.
Is that Clucks and Ducks?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you're south of us, so you'll have enough time, if you work that compost correctly, to get it finished before you put it on your garden.
Virginia.
Virginia, yeah, you'll make it. You want your compost finished, and that means when you pick it up, it smells like if you laid down in a forest someplace that was kind of had been left alone for a long time, a virgin forest, and you pulled the leaves apart and you stuck your face down in there. That smell is the smell that you want. If you pick the manure up and it smells kind of funky like manure, it's not ready yet, and it needs to be turned. And generally, when it's not making a whole lot of heat or making no heat, then it's finished, and that can take some time. I don't like putting fresh manure on my garden just because I don't want to be kneeling in it. But I don't think it's a threat to humanity like some people say it is. So I have several compost piles going, and usually the compost that I'm going to put on the garden, it's more than finished. And there's a couple ways of looking at this tillage thing. A lot of my friends are no-till, and they think that you're doing a terrible disservice to the soil by rototilling or even putting a disc in. And I used to feel that way. I mean, I used to go with that, but I think that you get a tremendous kick by, if you're amending the soil, you're making a lot of compost, which I do, putting that in and then putting that down low and bringing the stuff that's low and bringing it up on top. Because my goal is to make my topsoil as deep as possible and to have it be as uncompacted, as loose as possible. So I have a rototiller and I use it, and I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all. Actually like it. I just bought it, and I love it. And that's one of the things I can't wait to do some rototilling in the spring. Can't wait. So I do, and we get a real kick out of it. Yeah.
Nick from northern Minnesota wondered, can I feed my pigs weeds out of our lakes and ponds up here in northern Minnesota?
In Minnesota, I would say yes. If they'll eat it, do it. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Northern Minnesota, I think you probably have moose up there, and we used to call those swamp steaks in northern Maine, and that's all they ate, was they'd stick their head down and eat the weeds off the bottom. But I think that's a great idea.
As long as there's not a lot of houses around the lake that spray their lawns.
Yeah.
So you don't get that runoff.
Yeah. If there's not a lot of runoff in it, I'm thinking northern Minnesota.
Yeah, probably safer than most.
Yeah.
One last question. JD wondered, do you have the vet come out, and why?
Yeah, but every time I have the vet come out, I watch what the vet does, and I decide whether or not I can do that function, you know, because like this is my livelihood. So is there anything here that I shouldn't be able to do myself? So I do all my own castrating. We don't have health problems anymore, and haven't for years. Low battery. All right, I got 10%, so I should make it. But early on, we did have the vet come, and I would learn from the vet. The last time we had the vet here is when we had a horse. We used to have 2 horses that was laying down and couldn't get up, and it was a sentimental thing. And the vet came, and he knew more about it than we did, so we had to have him come. He's a friend of ours too, and he gave the prognosis on it, and you know, we carried out what had to be done. But the only time we have the vet come is when we can't figure it out. And I think what you have to do is you have to weigh it out and think about the long term here. Now, if you, let's say you have a small herd of pigs and you have a pig that's sick, well, do you want to treat him with drugs and $100 vet visit, you know, and a bunch of lab work and all that, or do you want your problem pig to just die, and the problem will die with him, hopefully? That's the way it works. You know, it really is survival of the fittest. Now with a horse, you know, it's a little different, and it was my daughter's horse and stuff, so it wasn't just, oh, he can't get up, you know, let's shoot him before we consult the vet. It was worth to us $100 vet visit to determine that, you know, it is most likely West Nile virus that swept through here. Most likely that's what it was, and you know, there was no fix on that, you know, that we could do, I guess. So we just had to shoot him. But no, I think there's a time, you know, and a good vet will talk you through things. But I think nowadays you got the internet too, so you can find a lot of things out on your own. It's like, are you going to call the dealership when your tractor's not running right? You really need to be the one that knows how that thing works. And when something goes wrong, it's actually an opportunity for you to troubleshoot it, and then put one more thing under your belt that, well, when that happens, I know what to do here. Like, I can tell you, we have this syndrome here with the chickens. They get curly-toed syndromes, and they rock back, and after a while they can't get back up. So we found through research, if we give them some beef liver, they eat that, they get the iron. It's from an iron deficiency, and it's generally, you know, there'll be one or two of them in every batch that gets that, and we give them the iron, and they snap right out of it. So, yeah, I mean, there's a time and a place for the vet, but I wouldn't be ringing the vet's phone every time you get an animal with a sniffle. I wouldn't, because it's expensive. How are we doing?
You're gonna run out of battery soon.
I'm gonna run out of battery. Have we run out of time?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think this was great, dynamic, and we'll keep it up through the winter months. I'd encourage everybody to try to keep your spirits up. End of February here, and the days are getting longer, but it's real cold out, and it's been real cloud covered, and we've had enough. So March, things start to break up a little bit and things get better, but just keep in mind, spring is coming. Now is the time to get prepared, and now is the time to realize that anyone can farm. Okay, so this is Mark from Baker's Green Acres, and please like, share, and subscribe. BakersGreenAcres.com. Thank you.